Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you this amazingly beautiful BMW E36, the sight of which is very pleasing to the eyes. And by using it as an example, I'll tell you about a simple and low-budget configuration that you can make for the M50 engine. First off, I'd like to express my respect to the owner of this car for making such a beauty under the hood. As you all know, M50 Turbo engines can look very differently under the hood. This one here looks very nice, so what do we got here? This is the most budget configuration you can get. Here we have M50B25 without Vanish. It was dismantled, they make pits in the pistons and then reassemble the engine. Under the cylinder head there is a Paranite gasket. Basically it's mostly standard. Yeah, they installed some gaskets and things like that, but you can avoid doing that. It depends on your engine's condition. Next we bought a Chinese exhaust manifold. If I'm not mistaken, we bought it on AGS. We paid $250. A few hours ago my friend Dimitri and I were welding a manifold in the garage. Yeah, Dimitri was the one to do the welding while I was just standing beside and did the talking. The manifold made from two M52s. And we came to the conclusion that if you have spare money, it's better not to suffer and buy a ready-made manifold. But the owner of this car said that things are not that simple with the ready-made manifold. He welded it a little bit, but his turbine couldn't get into place. The turbine is from Fort Love, China. I think its price is around $200. It's an analog of the GT35 with a 63rd small hot part of the turbine, which allows it to blow earlier. Respectively, the oil supply, the oil drain, the inlet manifold are the cheapest. M52. They're not in big demand, no one is chasing them, so the price is quite low, in contrast to the price of the M50B25 manifold. Such manifolds are inexpensive now, they used to cost $50, but now the price doubled up. The injectors are taken and remade from Fiat Lancia, 2 liters. There's something around, if memory serves me correctly, 200 cubic centimeters in stock. Now they've been remade and they're 540 cubic centimeters. The fuel pump is from some tuned company, 255 liters fuel pump, but I checked it out, it looks exactly the same as the diesel BMW E60, so you're gonna like it. The intercooler is made in China, 600 by 300 by 76, 63mm pipes, the blow-off is made in China, the wastegate is also made in China. By the way, there were problems with the wastegate. It was disassembled, they did something to prevent it from blocking. Everything is wrapped up in a thermal tape, basically the engine is blowing alright, I blew 1 or 2 bar today. We went for a ride and everything was fine. Before that, the owner drove 20,000 kilometers with 1 bar. Basically everything is doing alright, everything's fine. These nice WAG coils are hidden under this kinda cool custom stainless lid. And all this is controlled by the ECU called January 5.1. Here we have a launch control. This car can shoot flames from the exhaust pipe when you release the gas pedal. To enable this, there is a button on the dashboard. The button switches between the flame shooting mode plus launches and the standard mode where nothing happens, just driving. When I get in this leather interior and inhale the smell of the car, I see flashbacks from my student days, when a friend of mine had a BMW E36 and we used to drive somewhere together. She was beautiful, well kept, and it had that same smell. I never confuse it with anything. As I see, we've got a lot of features in here. A full-fledged onboard computer, a dual-zone climate control, extra oil temp gauge, and a boost gauge. This diffuser here is made on a 3D printer, but unfortunately the heat has almost killed it. Eventually its texture started looking weird, although initially it looked like an original diffuser. The nice leather steering wheel. It's lacking the central part and obviously the horn button itself. It's quite comfortable sitting here. Now let's take a drive and see how it feels on the road and take some measurements. And also here we have a gear boost feature. This car feels really nice when I drive it. I always feel an absolute pleasure when I drive this car, but there are a couple of things I don't really like about it. The steering wheel is a bit stiff. It's either due to the wide winter tires or due to the fact that the power steering is no longer effective. I don't know, but I realize that a light steering wheel and a good power steering make the process of driving much more pleasant. So yeah, these nuances are very important. The next issue here, except the tight clutch pedal, the gas pedal is a bit sluggish. The owner said he greased the cable and there's no issues with it. I have no idea where the problem is. I guess it's necessary to check it once again. So, a cable seems like not a big issue, but it has a very strong impact on the driving experience. The car drives smoothly and easily, but when you have no feedback from the gas pedal, or rather it's a bit heavy, the car feels quite different. As if the car is struggling, as if she doesn't want to go anywhere. In general, if we solve two issues with the power steering and the gas pedal, then this BMW is gonna become my dream car. She's just perfect. And you know what's funny? Previously, a 1JZ engine was installed here. The owner took it off, sold it. He said 1JZ is too expensive to do manipulations with it. Not everyone knows that M50 is a real power, and it can be assembled here using Chinese parts and stock components, and your car is gonna fly to the moon. By the way, people often ask questions, and I often see people install ECU January 5.1, they just put wires all over the place, without any wire management. Here you can see that the wiring is laid out nicely, and it's standard here. This wiring is from the M52 engine, it's here in the native covers, in the native box, it's connected to the native connector to the inside wiring. It fits into the native niche under the ECU. There's a 240mm clutch with a dual pressure plate, which allows to handle pretty much torque, but makes the pedal stiff. It's quite uncomfortable to drive when you're in the city all the time. I don't think it's good for drifting at all. Something more practical needs to be done here. The only major downside of this car is the transmission. Here we have the Getrag 220. It's probably the weakest transmission of that generation of BMW. The owner wants to change it, but he never got around to it. Ideally, it's better to install ZF 320 transmission. It's very strong and handles a lot of torque. The reductor type is 188, and basically everything else is fine. It should be able to handle our 1-2 bar of boost. Let's have a look at the running gear. We've got no-name coil covers, which lower the car a little bit. The brakes are from 330 diesel E46, or 330 gasoline. They're in one size there. They're nice 17-inch rims, and we've also got the shock absorber mounts. They're installed a bit upside down to make it possible to install casters. Now we're gonna measure the acceleration from 1 to 100, but only half the way, because 220 Getrag can spit out. And that will be my responsibility. I told the owner I'd be careful with his car, but I really want to measure it. So we're good to go. We're in a dirty asphalt road, it covered with dust, there's a construction nearby, I have a passenger in the car, so let's go. Getrag 220, we're gonna launch. The second gear is a little bit short, but 7.1, I'm not happy at all. If the second gear was at 7,000 RPM, and I don't have a computer here unfortunately, I think we'd have gone 2 gears. Let's try again. .9. Let's try it without launch. There's no traction for the launch or for the boost. The gear failed. One more time. That's it, it's time to stop fooling around. I'm having a really hard time when I try to start in this car. Anyway, it's supposed to have like slightly above 5 seconds. Now we go from 1 to 150, I'm not gonna go 100-200 because there's a hard time shifting from the third to fourth, where it might struggle. So we'll go up to 150, and by looking at the result, we'll understand how fast it'll go from 1 to 200. Last time on a 1-bar boost, it took her 8.9 seconds to go from 1 to 200. Shifting to the third, hit the gas. Here's the engine cutoff. Wait, what? Let's go to the garage, I'm gonna change the cutoff limit. Now it happens at 6,800 RPM. I'll move it to 7,000 because when we go from 100 to 150, we have a cutoff at 148 km per hour. And when we go from 0 to 100, the cutoff happens at about 90 km per hour. It turns out that we need to remove the switch and test it once again. According to the injector load, I can say that there's only 400 calculated horsepower. Everything else can be checked only through dyno, because it's not going to be serious. So this is what this configuration is all about, with one 2-bar boost. So this way it's a nice setup, and you don't even need to buy a 1JZ engine. And by the way, why does nobody use the M50 for drifting? You know, everyone prefers JZ, but in drifting, everyone wants 900 horsepower. But you can use an M50 for many other occasions. I know a lot of people who drive an M50 but not a turbo. So, speaking of this car's sheer power, it has around 400 horsepower. Now we're gonna be serious. The cameraman's out, the cutoff limits were changed. Let's try it one more time. No launches, no tricks, really carefully. The result is 5.61. Shifting feels hard. Shifting feels really hard. One more time. Well, she's struggling. 5.49. She's really struggling. So anyway, it's 3 degrees Celsius outside. I'm sure that the car can reach something like 5.1. She might even go faster than 5. So now let's try from 100 to 150. 3.14. We can try again. Basically, she acts a bit shaky on the road. The steering is shaking, but it's fine. So, I'm gonna hit the gas pedal once again. Oh, this get track is a mess. No good. Oh, look, 5.46. It's fine, it's okay anyway. I think the best one for today was 5.41, I think. Actually, no, 5.46 was the best one. Yeah, 5.46 from 0 to 100. There's a lot of room for improvement, I think. It can reach slightly above 5 seconds, like 5.1. I'm disappointed with the result from 100 to 150. It took me 3.2 sec. There were 3 measurements. First 3.14, then 3.28, and 3.23. If we go from 100 to 200, it's gonna be slightly above 8 seconds. But basically, with the engine capacity of 2.5 liters and the boost of 1-2 bar, it should go a little faster in my opinion. So we could tell the owner to check the car once again. I think he should check the turbine and check the tightness of the intake system. Maybe there's something wrong or something happened. So here's the configuration of this car. Low budget. I showed you everything and basically its engine dynamics are quite good. I can't convey the emotions that a non-sophisticated driver would get because I've already driven a lot of fast cars and I'm not impressed by such dynamics. But for an average driver, it's gonna be a hurricane. If such driver gets himself such a configuration, he'll be really impressed while hitting the gas pedal every time. Like this. But I really like the way it drives, it's a nice car. What can I say in conclusion? If you're interested in M50s, you have an engine like this, I've shown you how easy it is to make a racing car. Thank you for watching this video until the end, subscribe to the channel if you like this video, don't forget to put your likes, YouTube will recommend it to more users, so thanks for watching and bye bye.